Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell y'all something right now. A high-value woman doesn't just show up looking good. She talks good too. She's not out here playing games or throwing words in the wind. She knows the power of her voice. And when she speaks, it lands with intention. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about high-value women, real women who know who they are and what they bring to the table. When a high-value woman walks into a room, she doesn't need to announce herself. She doesn't have to prove her worth, post a quote, or declare her standards to everyone in the room. You just feel it. There's a calm in her stride, a steadiness in her eyes, and a power in her silence. Because confidence speaks long before she opens her mouth. See, the thing about a woman who truly knows her value is this: she sets the tone. She doesn't wait for a man to define her. She's already done that for herself. She's not out here playing trial and error with her identity, trying to bend and twist just to get chosen. No, sir. She already chose herself. She already did the work. She already had those quiet nights alone where she looked in the mirror and said, "This is me, flaws and all, and I'm still enough." So when she starts a conversation with a man, she's not coming from a place of desperation. She's not sitting there trying to impress him, trying to earn his attention like it's a reward. She knows that her presence is the prize. She knows that her energy is valuable, that her time is sacred. And because of that, she don't hand it out carelessly. A high-value woman guards her peace like it's gold. And guess what? It is gold. She sets the tone because she knows that if she doesn't, someone else will try to do it for her. And that's not happening. She's the one driving the conversation, not controlling it, but guiding it with intention. She's not waiting for a man to lead so she can follow blindly. She's walking beside him, shoulder to shoulder, eyes forward. And if he ain't walking in purpose, she's got no problem stepping off the path. Let me say something real to you fellas. When a woman knows her value, she don't tolerate chaos. She don't entertain disrespect in the name of being understanding. She don't play along just to keep the peace, because her inner peace means more than any temporary situation. If the energy's off, if the tone ain't right, she will address it. Not with drama, not with shouting, but with presence, with silence if necessary, with that look that says, "This ain't it, and I'm not the one." You want to know the secret? A high-value woman isn't interested in control. She's interested in alignment. And when she talks to a man, she's not throwing shade, testing him, or setting traps. She's speaking in a way that invites truth. She talks with a softness that has strength behind it. She communicates what she expects with no apology. She doesn't say, "I'm sorry, but I need." She says, "I require this in my life." That's not arrogance. That's self-respect. You see, confidence isn't loud. It's not always bold and brash. Sometimes it's quiet and still. Sometimes it shows up in the way she walks away when the energy ain't right. Sometimes it's in the way she pauses before she answers a question, because she's not trying to rush into anything that doesn't serve her. Sometimes confidence looks like saying no without an explanation. And that's exactly how she sets the tone. People often ask, "How do I know if I'm high value?" It ain't about money. It ain't about status. It's about how you treat yourself when no one's watching. It's about whether your standards are negotiable under pressure. A high-value woman doesn't change her rules to keep a man. She lives by those rules because she honors herself first. If a man can't match her energy, she's not upset. She just knows he's not for her. So when she talks to a man, she talks with grace, but she also talks with boundaries. She sets the tone by simply being herself. She leads with her values, not her fears. She opens conversations with clarity, not confusion, and she doesn't entertain anything that makes her question her worth. Because when you're a high-value woman, you already know the answer. You are the tone setter. You are the standard. And you carry yourself like it every time. A woman who knows her value doesn't flinch when it's time to speak her truth. She doesn't water it down. She doesn't wrap it in 100 disclaimers, and she surely doesn't whisper it, hoping not to offend. She communicates her standards as a reflection of who she is, not to intimidate anyone, not to prove anything, but because she understands that the right people will align and the wrong ones will fall off. That's not her loss. That's clear. She doesn't apologize for having boundaries, and she doesn't feel guilty for wanting more. She knows that setting a standard is not about being difficult or demanding. It's about protecting her peace, her purpose, and her time. When she says, "I don't accept disrespect," she means it. When she says, "I need emotional presence, not just physical attention," she's not testing anybody. She's being honest. And when she says, "I will not chase, beg, or compromise my worth for a relationship," she's not trying to be strong for show. She's living in her truth. The thing is, she's not afraid to lose someone if it means staying true to herself. That kind of fearlessness only comes from deep self-work, from healing the parts of her that once settled, once stayed quiet, once tolerated things that kept her small. She's not in that place anymore. Now, when she speaks, it's with purpose, it's with calm, but it's firm. She can say no without needing a reason, and she can say yes without needing permission. She understands that her standards aren't up for debate. She doesn't put them on trial just because someone questions them. If a man says she's too much, she doesn't shrink. She simply knows he's not enough for her. If someone tries to make her feel like she's asking for too many emotional needs, too much honesty, too much effort, she doesn't backpedal. She doesn't explain her worth to people who were never qualified to hold it in the first place. She's not here to please everybody. She's not molding herself to fit into someone else's comfort zone. She's built her own lane, paved with lessons, pain, growth, and self-respect. So when she talks to a man, she's not trying to keep him. She's trying to see if he can meet her. And if he can't, she's still good. She's still whole. That's the power of knowing your standards and sticking to them. This woman doesn't manipulate. She doesn't play games. She doesn't drop hints hoping he catches them. She communicates with clarity. She'll tell you what she needs. She'll tell you what she values, and she'll tell you what she won't tolerate. If you can't handle that, she won't argue. She'll just move accordingly. Her boundaries aren't threats, they filters. She knows that anyone who gets uncomfortable when a woman speaks with strength is not a safe place for her heart. She's not afraid to be alone because she understands that being alone with peace is better than being connected with confusion. She would rather wait for alignment than settle for attention. That's the mindset of a high-value woman. It's not about being harsh, it's about being clear. It's not about being cold, it's about being certain. And it's not about control, it's about self-worth. She's not asking for anything she's not willing to give. She's not expecting perfection. She's looking for presence, honesty, consistency. She's looking for real. And she knows real doesn't get scared by standards. Real rises to meet them. So when she speaks her truth, she doesn't shake, she doesn't stutter, and she doesn't soften her message just to make someone else feel more comfortable in their indecision. Her standards are not walls, they're doors, but only the right ones get the key. She doesn't rush, she doesn't chase, and she doesn't settle because she knows what she brings and she honors that every time she opens her mouth. A high-value woman knows how to listen, but don't mistake her silence for submission. She's not quiet because she's unsure. She's quiet because she's paying attention. She listens because she's observing energy, not just hearing words. She watches how a man talks, how he treats others, how he moves when nobody's watching. She listens deeply, but she does not lose herself in trying to be liked or accepted. She's not the kind of woman who molds herself to fit into someone else's expectations. She won't pretend to agree just to avoid conflict. She won't nod along just to be agreeable. If something doesn't sit right with her soul, she doesn't ignore it. She reflects on it. She processes it. She considers it from a place of grounded strength. But she will never shrink herself just to make someone else feel more powerful. Her listening is intentional, not submissive. It comes from a place of emotional intelligence. She listens because she wants to understand, not to submit. She listens because she values connection, but never at the cost of her identity. She may hear a man out. She may even give him space to express himself, but she will not minimize her needs just to keep him comfortable. Too many times people confuse compromise with self-erasure. A high-value woman understands the difference. She's willing to meet halfway when it's mutual, when both hearts are invested. But she's not folding herself in half just to fit into someone's limited vision of what a woman should be. She listens, yes, but she also stands tall in what she believes. She doesn't bend her voice to be accepted. She doesn't lower her standards to keep the peace. She doesn't abandon her intuition just because someone else doesn't see what she sees. And when she does speak, you better believe it comes from depth. She speaks from a place of reflection, not reaction. She's not trying to win arguments. She's trying to build something real. She listens not to submit, but to discern. And when the words she hears don't align with the energy she feels, she won't gaslight herself to stay. She'll leave with grace, not bitterness, because her value isn't attached to being chosen. It's rooted in being true to herself. She doesn't shrink when a man feels intimidated by her insight. She doesn't quiet herself just because her truth might make someone uncomfortable. If anything, she speaks clearer. She becomes even more herself. Because at the end of the day, she's not listening to lose herself. She's listening to see if there's room to grow together. And if there isn't, she's not afraid to grow on her own. That's the strength in her silence. It's not empty. It's powerful. It's patient. It's purposeful. And when she does offer her perspective, it's rooted in love, not ego. It's designed to connect, not control. But make no mistake, if the connection asks her to dim her light, if the relationship asks her to silence her soul, she will walk away. Because the one thing she won't compromise is herself. Listening is a skill, but keeping your identity while you listen is mastery. And that's what she's learned. She doesn't need to raise her voice to be heard. but she will never lower her spirit to be accepted. She gives people space to show who they are. And she listens to their actions just as much as their words. But no matter how much she listens, she remains grounded in who she is. She listens with empathy, but she leads with self-respect. She can hold space for someone else's story without abandoning her own. She doesn't get lost in trying to be everything for everyone. She's not afraid to disagree, not afraid to say no, and not afraid to walk away from anything that asks her to be less than who she truly is. A woman who knows her value doesn't speak from a place of pain. She speaks from a place of power. She has been through storms. She has felt the weight of heartbreak, betrayal, and disappointment. She's cried in silence, healed in solitude, and risen from moments that almost broke her. But she doesn't let those wounds control her voice. She doesn't allow her past to speak louder than her purpose. Her experiences may have shaped her, but they do not define how she communicates. When she talks to a man, she's not lashing out from old pain. She's not projecting her scars onto someone new. She's not turning every conversation into a test, waiting for him to fail so she can say, see, they're all the same. That's not her. She's done the work. She's faced the mirror. She's been honest with herself about what hurt her, and more importantly, what she allowed because she hadn't yet realized her worth. But now she knows. And that knowing changes everything. Her words are rooted in truth, not triggers. She doesn't need to shout to prove a point. She doesn't need to argue to feel seen. She communicates with clarity, calmness, and conviction. She doesn't start fights out of fear. She has no interest in drama. What she wants is peace, alignment, and honesty. So when she speaks, it's from a centered place, a healed place. That doesn't mean she hasn't been hurt. It means she refused to let the hurt harden her. It means she transformed her pain into wisdom, not bitterness. She learned the lesson, but didn't become the lesson. She still believes in love. She still believes in connection, but now she believes in herself more than any relationship. That's why her words don't come from desperation. They come from depth. She doesn't come into conversations with assumptions that every man will break her. She doesn't hold new people responsible for old pain. She gives others the chance to show up honestly, but she also trusts her intuition. She watches how people act, listens to what they say, and most importantly, observes how she feels when she's around them. Her past taught her to pay attention, but not to live in fear. And that balance is what makes her powerful. She's not guarded, she's grounded. She's not cold, she's clear. She knows the difference between expressing a boundary and building a wall. She knows how to say, I've been through some things, but I'm not bringing that baggage into this moment. And when she speaks, you can feel the wisdom in her tone. You can hear the healing in her language. You can see the strength in the way she chooses her words. She's not interested in using guilt, shame, or manipulation to make a point. That's what wounded communication looks like. She doesn't speak to wound others just because she was once wounded. She speaks to elevate, she speaks to connect, and she speaks to be understood, not to win, not to dominate, not to control. Even when she's disappointed, she responds instead of reacting. She asks questions instead of making assumptions. She says how she feels without attacking. And when something doesn't feel right, she'll speak on it. Not out of rage, but out of self-respect. She won't go silent to punish, but She will walk away to protect her peace. Her voice carries weight because it's honest. It's not laced with resentment. It's filled with awareness. She's learned that you can say what you need without raising your voice. You can express pain without making someone else the enemy. And you can love without losing yourself. She speaks from her worth because her worth is what carried her through the darkest moments of her life. And now, that's what guides her words, her tone, and her presence. She honors where she's been, but she no longer lives there. She's not moved by just a pretty smile or smooth talk. A high-value woman has evolved beyond the games, beyond the flash, beyond being impressed by a man's ability to say all the right things at the right time. What draws her in now is something deeper: emotional maturity, presence, integrity, because at this stage in her life, she's seen enough to know that charm can be fake, but character cannot. She's not interested in the man who knows how to talk. She's looking for the one who knows how to listen, the one who knows how to show up consistently, not just when it's convenient, but when it counts. She wants someone who knows how to manage his emotions, not someone who hides behind pride or ego when things get uncomfortable. Emotional maturity to her isn't just attractive, it's necessary. She's not fooled by a man who says all the right things in the beginning but disappears when accountability enters the room. She's not seduced by attention that's inconsistent or energy that comes with conditions. She knows the difference between interest and investment. She can see through temporary excitement, and she's learned to ask herself, is this sustainable? Is this safe? Is this steady? Because she's not just dating for butterflies, she's watching how a man handles pressure. How does he respond when she sets a boundary? How does he speak when he's angry? Can he own his mistakes? Can he have a difficult conversation without shutting down, running away, or turning the blame around? That's what matters to her. She doesn't need perfect, she needs present. She doesn't expect a man to have all the answers, but she does need him to be willing to grow, willing to admit when he's wrong, willing to sit in discomfort without making her pay for it. That's what emotional maturity looks like. And for her, there's nothing more attractive. She's done entertaining potential that doesn't come with action. She's not chasing chemistry that isn't backed by character. She wants to know that when she opens up, the man in front of her has the capacity to hold space for her, not just when she's shining, but also when she's vulnerable, unsure, or healing. She understands now that relationships are built on emotional safety, not emotional highs. So if a man is charming but emotionally unavailable, she's not staying. If he looks good but avoids accountability, she's not impressed. If he's fun but can't apologize, can't listen, can't communicate with care, then he's not ready for her. The truth is, emotional maturity is rare. It requires self-awareness, patience, and discipline. It means being honest even when it's hard. It means showing up when it's easier to walk away. And she values that over everything else. Because she's no longer measuring a man by how he makes her feel in the first few moments. She's watching how he behaves when things aren't going his way. That's where the truth shows up. She's not afraid to walk away from someone who doesn't meet her emotionally, because her peace is more important than temporary affection. She's not afraid to wait because she understands that rushing leads to regret. And she's not afraid to be alone because her self-worth isn't tied to someone else's presence. It's rooted in her own growth. She values emotional maturity because she had to fight for her own. She had to unlearn patterns, heal wounds, and grow into the woman she is today. So she can't connect with someone who refuses to do that same inner work. If he's still blaming others for his past, still running from emotional responsibility, still masking his fear with charm, then he's not ready. And she's no longer in the season of her life where she lowers her standards to make someone else comfortable. She wants depth, honesty, consistency, because love without emotional maturity isn't love. It's confusion. And she's finally clear. A high-value woman understands the rare strength found in silence. She doesn't speak just to fill the air. She's not trying to prove her worth with words. She's not moved by every comment, every disagreement, or every attempt to provoke her. She knows who she is, and that kind of confidence doesn't need constant explanation. Her silence is not weakness, it's mastery. It's wisdom. It's a signal that she values her peace more than pointless debates. She knows not every situation deserves a reaction, not every opinion deserves a response, and not every man deserves her attention. She's past the phase of needing to be understood by everyone. She doesn't argue with immaturity. She doesn't beg to be valued. She doesn't engage with people who are committed to misunderstanding her. Her energy is sacred now. It's not available for everyone. And that's not arrogance, that's growth. She used to give explanations. She used to try and fix, explain, overextend herself for people who weren't ready to receive her truth, but not anymore. Now, if a man doesn't see her value, she doesn't try to convince him. She lets him go. She doesn't chase closure. She doesn't try to win someone back who walked away. She understands that peace sometimes comes from letting go, not holding on. She knows how to sit in her power without raising her voice. Her calm presence is louder than noise. She's not trying to be the loudest in the room. She's trying to be the most grounded. Because real strength doesn't shout, it doesn't force, it doesn't compete, it just is. And her silence, when she chooses it, speaks volumes. It says, I won't waste my breath on things beneath my spirit. It says, I choose peace over pride. It says, I'm not available for chaos. She understands that sometimes the greatest act of power is simply walking away. No dramatic exit, no long explanation, just silence. Just a decision to no longer give what is not being reciprocated. And that silence, oh, it's strong. It leaves people wondering. It makes them realize what they lost. But she's not doing it to manipulate. She's doing it to protect herself. She knows that not everyone is meant to walk with her. Not every man is ready for her kind of presence. And that's okay. She doesn't force it. She's not interested in being everywhere for everyone all the time. She's selective with her energy. She doesn't entertain emotional games. She doesn't argue to be right. She doesn't keep explaining herself to people who've already decided not to listen. Her silence is how she honors her worth. It's how she keeps her power in a world that's always trying to take it. There's power in her pause. When she goes quiet, it's not because she's weak, it's because she's wise. It's because she's observing, reflecting, choosing her next move with care. She knows her energy is expensive, and she's no longer handing it out like it's free. She's reserved now. She's focused. She's done